Hello everyone and welcome into Coach Craig's Sports. This is the MLB DFS Core Pick video for today, Wednesday, June 19th. If you're joining me for the very first time, first of all, welcome in. Second of all, this is how today's video will be structured. We will not be having a recap since I've not had a video technically since Friday, so do apologize for that. Had a couple other things going on the past couple days which did not allow me to make a video in a timely manner, and a couple things that took a little bit longer than I did kind of expect, so I do apologize for that once again. Did share my notes for free on Monday, and I did have the cheat sheet up yesterday. The notes are up on the Patreon page as well as a couple additional free notes listed on kind of YouTube, Facebook, and stuff like that. So hopefully you guys kind of found that and found it useful just in general. But we're back at it today. We're going to be starting off with the weather report for today. Then we'll get moved over to FanDuel, talk about my core picks for today, which is going to be one pitcher, 4 hitters. It's going to be based on a combination of past history versus their respective opponent, as well as some recent history. And then after that, we'll get moved over to my cheat sheet and talk about my top GPP teams to stack for tonight's slate overall. That cheat sheet is 100% free. It's up on the Sports Affiliation website, so definitely feel free to check that out as you're building out your lineups for tonight's slate overall. But without further ado, we'll get started with that weather report for today. So once again, the weather report is any game that does have a double-digit chance of rain. I think I forgot to mention that in the intro for anybody that is new for today's slate overall. But we're going to start off in Minnesota with the Twins and the Rays, 26% chance of rain there. Do ultimately expect that to be good, although, this Midwest weather has been kind of hit or miss as of late, so we'll keep an eye on that one as the day moves along. And then we'll get down to Chicago with the White Sox and the Astros. 13% chance of rain there. Looks like it should be pretty good, but once again, this Midwest weather has been a little bit crazy as of late, so just kind of have to see as the day moves along. And then out in Colorado, we got a 49% chance of rain out there. So that one's probably going to be a little bit more hit or miss. Obviously, the weather can change a little bit more quickly out there in Colorado. So that is one that we will be keeping a good eye on as well. And then with that being said, if there are any weather updates for these 3 games for any other game throughout the day, we'll leave that listed down in the comments below. But without further ado, we'll get moved over to FanDuel and talk about my core picks over there. So once again, it's going to be one pitcher, 4 hitters. It's going to be based on a combination of past performance versus their respective opponents, as well as some recent history. So we're going to start off at the pitcher position today with Cole Reagans, $10,600. He is the most expensive pitcher on the slate, and probably for good reason. He goes against the Oakland A's today. Some pretty good history there in the past. He is averaging about 36 fantasy points per game on the season so far. So really good start to the year for Cole Reagans, obviously coming off the strong second half of 2023 as well. He's got 4 wins, an ERA just over 3 at 3.14 at this point in time. Once again, averaging about 36 fantasy points per game going against the Oakland A's tonight. Very good history versus them in the past, although it's a little bit smaller sample size, but this year versus the A's, he had 52 points. Last year versus the A's, he had 61 points. So it looks like one of the best pitchers on tonight's slate overall, and definitely warranting the price tag of $10,600. Then we're going to move down to our hitters. We got some cheaper guys in here just because obviously we're paying up at the pitcher position with Cole Reagans. We're going to start off at first base with Montero. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his first name at this point in time. So he's $2,800. Goes against the Dodgers tonight. It is Bobby Miller on the mound making his return from the IL. So we'll see how good he is tonight. We'll see how far he actually does pitch into that game as well. And Montero is 2 for 3 with 1 home run versus Miller in his career. So some pretty good history in the past. And then as of late, he's on a modest 3-game hitting streak. One of those games was a multi-hit game, 1 home run during that time span, but all 3 games have been double-digit performances. So for $2,800, looks like a pretty decent value play on tonight's slate overall. Obviously, that is the game probably with the highest rain exposure tonight, so we just ultimately want to make sure that game does go off. And then before we get moving on, I just want to mention that Montero is averaging just under 7 fantasy points per game. Obviously, part of the season, he's been a part-time player. If you look at the season in totality, it's only a 2.9 batting average, 4 home runs, 27 RBI. So definitely looking for some upside out of him tonight. Obviously, once again, that game does have the highest chance of rain overall. Then we're going to move down to third base with Mark Vientos, $2,900, averaging just over 9.5 fantasy points per game on the season. Goes against Andrew Heaney tonight. Very small sample size versus him. He is 1 for 2 versus him in his career, though. He's on a modest 3-game hitting streak right now. 2 multi-hit games, 1 home run, and 2 double-digit performances during that time span. If you look at what Mark Vientos has done since his call-up, he's got a .317 average, 6 home runs, 17 RBIs, so definitely do love the upside out of him tonight. I do like stacking this Mets team overall. And Mark Vientos is probably going to be a pretty big part of that just in general. And then we're going to move down to his teammate with J.D. Martinez at $3,400. If you're talking about a big part of this Mets stack tonight, he's probably going to be arguably the biggest part tonight. $3,400, averaging just under 10 fantasy points per game on the season. He is 4 for 11 with 2 home runs versus Andrew Heaney in his career. If you look at what he's done as of late, 6 out of his last 7 games, he has at least 1 hit, 3 multi-hit games during that time span, 3 home runs, and 4 double-digit performances. So he's been doing pretty well as of late. Obviously, a little bit slower start to the year for JD Martinez, but, he signed late. He went to the minor leagues. He dealt with like a little bit of an injury down there too. Came up. He was hitting all right, but he wasn't really hitting for power. He wasn't having those big JD Martinez performances that we would come to expect from him. But he is up to a 285 average, 8 home runs, 27 RBIs. Once again, averaging just under 10 fantasy points per game for $3,400. Probably a little bit more than you like to pay for somebody for that type of average for the season. But if you look at what he's done as of late, definitely does warrant this price tag overall. Then last but not least, we're going with another value play in Robbie Grossman tonight on the opposite side of that Mets and Rangers game. So $2,400. He is 5 for 12 for Sean Manaea in his career. So some pretty decent history there. Typically when Robbie Grossman has pretty good history versus an opposing pitcher, he usually does pretty well on those nights just in general. Obviously kind of been a back and forth season for him. I believe he spent some time with the White Sox, now with the Rangers. He is on a modest 3-game hitting streak though, 2 multi-hit games during that time span, 1 home run, 1 double-digit performance. So you're not expecting too much for $2,400. If you get double-digit points out of him, you're going to be pretty happy. If you sneak your way into a home run, which would be back-to-back days for him, would be pretty good as well. 216 batting average, they had 1 lone home run on the season and 10 RBIs. Averaging about 5.4 fantasy points on the season. Obviously has been pretty much a part-time player most of the season, but he is expected to hit third tonight, so if that ends up being the case, I do definitely like him quite a bit for tonight's slate overall as kind of a pretty good value play and a guy that can potentially save us some pretty decent money. But with that being said, if you go with these 5 players that I do currently have listed here, you have $12,900 remaining. Just over $3,200 remaining per player. So you still have a little bit of room and flexibility if you really want to pay up for a player on tonight's slate. Maybe not a Shohei Ohtani because he's going to eat up a bunch of money. I don't think you can play him and Cole Reagans together very effectively, but anybody else is probably a fair game on tonight's slate overall. And obviously, if you pay up, you're going to have to find some values to pay down for. But I think there are some pretty decent values on tonight's slate overall. Otherwise, if you want to take a little bit more balanced approach, that's definitely fine on tonight's slate as well. And it's pretty easy to go with that Mets stack, even in the balanced approach at the same time as well. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to my cheat sheet and talk about my top GPP teams to stack for tonight's slate. So once again, the cheat sheet is 100% free. It's up on the Sports Affiliation website, so definitely be sure to check it out as you're building out your lineups for tonight's slate overall. So we have 3 teams that I do have listed here in terms of potential stacks for tonight. We got the New York Mets, who I've talked a little bit about so far. So going against Andrew Heaney tonight looks like a really good matchup for them, whether it's Mark Vientos, whether it's Starling Marte, JD Martinez. You can throw in Francisco Lindor there because he's been doing pretty well as of late. I threw in Pete Alonso in the cheat sheet just because I think this Mets team is warranted in stacking. I think there's a lot of different ways that you can go about that if you want to. Then we have the Yankees going against Cade Povich of the Baltimore Orioles, making his 3rd career start. So there is no history there, but definitely do like the upside there in that Yankees lineup. And then the Dodgers out in Colorado, obviously at Coors Field, is going to help them quite a bit going against Rand Feltner. Some decent history there, not a long list of history, but some decent history at that. So if you really want to go with any of the Dodgers, feel free to do so. And then I will mention that Boston and Toronto game, just in general, those hitters do have pretty good history versus Brian Bayo and versus Kevin Gausman. Both pitchers have been pretty hit or miss so far this season, so if you want to go and chase some stacks from that game, would not blame you whatsoever. But with that being said, that's what I do have in terms of the weather report, the core picks, and the top GPP stacks for today, Wednesday, June 19th. As always, if you have any questions related to MLB DFS, be sure to drop them down in the comments, and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. And then, as always, I'll be posting any updates down there as well, whether it's weather-related, whether it's starting pitcher-related. And then I will also be posting all the starting lineups as they do get announced throughout the afternoon and early evening, so definitely on the lookout for that, especially as we do get closer to lock. But with that being said, if you are brand new to my channel, checking out for the very first time, or have yet to subscribe, please consider doing so. Definitely would appreciate it. Helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now, we have MLB DFS in terms of the core pick videos Monday through Friday. Once again, do apologize for missing the first 2 days this week. I will note that starting next week, the structure of this video will be changing a little bit, probably going back to more of a live stream type of setting, probably in the afternoon, because I will be starting a new full-time position on the side as well, which will be requiring me to work from like 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. So I will probably be doing some type of live stream, probably around like 4 o'clock, 4:30 or so. So definitely be on the lookout for that But once I make the full kind of decision on that based on the day, we'll have that posted on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube community tab, so definitely on the lookout for that. And then I do also have my CFL DFS video coming out once a week, typically on Wednesday, so that one should be coming out later today as well. So definitely be sure to check that out. That's something you're into. The UFL season just ended, so definitely do want to shout out each and every one of you that did follow me along for the UFL DFS season as well. And then last but not least, if you're interested in sports betting, if you're interested in prop betting whatsoever, be sure to check out the links and promo codes down in the description below for Prize Picks, Parlay Play, and BetUS. If you're a brand new user on any one of those three sites, when you sign up, make your initial deposit, you will get a first match deposit bonus. For Prize Picks and Parlay Play, it's 100% match up to $100. And then for BetUS, it's 125% match, I believe up to $2,500. So some pretty great opportunities to be had out there. And then with that being said, if you have any other additional questions related to that whatsoever, feel free to reach out to me, whether it's down in the comments or on Twitter at Coach Craig Support, and be more than happy to help you with that journey as well. But with that being said, that's all that I truly have for today's video. Definitely do appreciate each and every one of you tuning in. Definitely means a lot to me. I hope that each and every one of you have a great rest of your day and some pretty good luck in MLB DFS tonight.